What's going on, guys? Matt here, back again with another video. Currently in day 5 of isolation, and that means more YouTube content for you guys. And today we're going to be going through the 2020 NBA draft class, and more specifically the top 10 picks, and rank them according to a tier list. So we've got the 4 tiers as always: invest now, long-term category, which is someone I think will be relevant in 5 to 10 years time. Invest now, short term, someone I think will be relevant in the next sort of 1 to 5 years. And then hold mad potential, not too sure about what they can produce at the moment or what their potential really is. And then sell, not really a massive fan of them. So yeah, the 2020 NBA draft class, if you guys don't know, the 2020 NBA draft class was regarded as a generally weak sort of draft class with solid role players, sort of like in the mid to lower range. So yeah, a lot of people went high in this draft class, but as we've seen now, there are some great players that are coming out of it, and they've actually sort of, I guess, exceeded the expectations of what people have said. So let's go to pick number 1, which is Anthony Edwards. Personally, for me, Anthony Edwards, I would have Ant-Man in the invest now long-term category. So his career stats, he's averaging 20 points, just under 5 rebounds a game, and 3.2 assists. His efficiency isn't the greatest: 42% from the field, 34% from the three-point line. And yeah, for me personally, you know, he's on a small market team. He does have some great young players around him in, you know, Jaden McDaniels as well. Jared Vanderbilt's a great defender. I've always liked him on the advanced statistical side. But yeah, I think for us to see the true potential of Anthony Edwards, you probably need to see a trade for D'Angelo Russell, who is massively ball dominant on the Timberwolves at the moment. So I think invest now long term would only be if D'Angelo Russell ends up getting traded, because I do want to see Ant-Man on the ball a little bit more and see what he can do, whether he can improve his playmaking, jump up from 3 assists per game to a little bit more. But yeah, you know, for his career, 20 points per game is, you know, he's the best scorer from this class. I think he almost has that excitement factor as a player as well, which is relevant when it comes to sports cards. He's almost at Zion level, where he's you know, obviously he's got that body of like a Zion, like where he's almost like an NFL player, but he just has that ridiculous bounce, and someone that will be on highlight reels for years to come. He's already had some ridiculous dunks already. So once he gets through that over the coming years, you know, I'm not going to be surprised if he has a massive dunk over someone and boom, his sports cards fly up. But yeah, like I said, relatively average shooting percentages, but I'm looking for improvements through there. The first couple of seasons are always a little bit hard because getting adjusted to the NBA. It's a longer three-point line compared to college, but I think Ant-Man has shown that, yeah, he's pretty solid. So yeah, that's Anthony Edwards. Next up, pick number 2, James Wiseman. For me, I would have him short-term. He's kind of bordering short-term and may have potential for me. Has a great team around him. He's got Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, you know, Jordan Poole. A lot of these great players around him. For me, the only thing that has him almost bordering that third tier is just the fact that, yeah, I'm a little bit unsure of his fit and whether it's right for his playing potential long term, because the Warriors, you know, they're a system that relies on a big man that plays, you know, that does his role really. So, you know, you've got Kevon Looney right now, who's the starting center. You've got Draymond Green, who's just done his role really over the years. Andrew Bogut was a playmaking center who just set screens really and played good defense. I'm not sure if James Wiseman is going to be that scorer that everyone is expecting him to be on the Warriors. Career averages so far 11.5 points per game, 6 rebounds on 52% shooting. Hasn't played this at all this season thanks to injury, but, you know, I think, yeah, it's going to be exciting to see him come back. It's just more so that I don't know what his fit's going to be long term with the Warriors. Yeah, jury's still out. I still trust him. I still trust him, and as well as the Warriors front office. You've also got to remember the Warriors front office is one of the only recent teams, or like, yeah, one of the only recent front offices that have basically drafted a team to win a championship. Not the championship with KD and the 2 championships with KD, but the one before that. You know, a lot of teams since then have all basically been on free agency signings and trades and all that sort of stuff. And another good thing with James Wiseman is he can stretch out and hit the occasional 3. So I'd have him short term, but he's bordering the whole sort of area for me where I'm not too sure about him. But I would like to see him in the future maybe get a bit of a better role, or he does get a bit more offensive touches, or does go to a team where he can get a little bit more of the ball. Pick number 3, Lamelo Ball. I'm having Lamelo in the invest now long-term category. Honestly, personally, my favourite player from this draft is Lamelo. He averages 18 points, 6.4 rebounds, 6.8 assists on 43% shooting and 36% from the three-point line. That's over his whole career. He is in a bit of a small market team at Charlotte, but and they're generally a losing franchise, but they have looked good so far in his couple of seasons. Last season, they should have made the playoffs, but I think they had some late injuries to Lamelo as well as Gordon Hayward. I think this season they are going to be making the playoffs. The excitement factor is crazy. If you guys haven't seen Lamelo warm up, it's a pretty unique warm up. It's not your typical, it's not your typical sort of basketball warm. He does some unique things, and I think that reflects his play on the court as well. His comparison has always been like a better shooting Jason Kidd. I think that's pretty fair, and I do think in the future he can be a triple-double machine. Honestly, yeah, one of my favorite players. I would love to get some stuff of him, but I still think his cards are ridiculous. He's not really signing his redemptions at the moment, so his cards have sort of, his autos are still expensive, but yeah, I don't know. I think there's a little bit more better value otherwise, but in terms of like long term and where I see his potential, I do like Lamelo Ball. Pick number 4, Patrick Williams. So I have Patrick Williams in the hold mate potential category. Before this season, I would have had him in the short term category because I do sort of like him. I know there's a lot of hype about him. A lot of people have spoken about him as being sort of like that Kawhi Leonard, where he's just that really hard worker, someone who's a two-way player. I did mention him last year in one of the players that I was looking to purchase a massive chunk of, but yeah, currently out this season. The reason I've moved him from the short term to the may have potential category is really just because of the recent additions to the Chicago Bulls. You had Vooch, who was traded there last season. You also had Lonzo Ball, who was signed there, DeMar DeRozan, who was signed there. So I feel like he's not going to get the shots that he was getting last season. So I think it will hurt his offensive development. I think like Wiseman, you really want him to if you want to see what he can do offensively, you almost need to see if he plays either lead the team or whether he does lead the team himself. He was spoken about in terms of trade discussions, weirdly enough. I don't know about that, but I think he's a good sort of long-term prospect. Great defender for his age, really good. He was called upon. He's sort of like I said, he's like Kawhi, where he's at such a young age, he's still such a great defender. Solid shooter as well. He just needs the confidence to shoot a little bit more. Averaging 48% from the field, 40% from the three-point line, averaged 9 points per game. Really good stats for someone who hasn't really shot too much, but yeah, I think he just needs more confidence and more shots, and I think that's going to be harder, like I said, with the 3 recent additions of the team, and he's currently out injured, so a little bit of a hard one there. I heard he might be back in time for playoffs. Let's hope so. He'd be a great addition to the Chicago Bulls, but yeah, that's Patrick Williams for me. Pick number 5, Isaac Okoro. Look, Isaac's bordering for me. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I always like to say with the first sort of couple of years in terms of players that you kind of have to give them a bit of a longer leash because there's still a little bit of development to go. I think when you get to your 3rd, 4th, 5th years, that's where you're going to start seeing a little bit more selves, if anything. But with Isaac Okoro, I always had him as a target in the offseason. I'm glad I didn't now, but defensively a very solid player. He's a little bit undersized in the sort of peak Cavs lineup when he plays small forward because they have Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, and Isaac Okoro. So at the start of the season, I saw that lineup and it wasn't working too well. So I feel like in terms of the best sort of potential for Okoro, you almost want Colin Sexton to be traded and have Okoro play at the 2. And I still think that's the best thing for the Cavs in general, not just for Okoro. I think Garland has actually benefited off that. I've watched Sexton so many times, and it's just so many things that he does on the basketball court that I don't like. But anyway, going back to Okoro, offensively, he does show some flashes. He's not the greatest spot-up shooter, but he does have some solid scoring games when he does get given the ball. Shooting 44% from the field, 30% from the three-point line, 9 points per game for his career averages. Nothing too special there, but that's the thing, though. I'm also having him in the hold, bordering sell potential category because I'm not sure what his ceiling can be, and really not everyone in the top 10 of NBA drafts can be a great investment. So there are going to be people that miss out, and we look back in 5 years' time, we're going to see that. But yeah, for me, Isaac Okoro, hold, bordering, sell, really for me. Pick number 6, Onyeka Okongwu. I'll have him in the short-term category. He's averaging 6 points and 4 rebounds for his career. Not really great averages, but you've also got to remember that Clint Capella is the starting center right now for the Atlanta Hawks. I think the Hawks are grooming him. They're kind of developing him quite slowly, and I think they will eventually allow him to overtake and replace Capella. I really like the combo of him and Trey. Trey's been really good in terms of the pick and roll. He can really throw some great dimes. He's done some great alley-oop plays with John Collins, Clint Capella, and I think Okoro is going to be that next sort of player that he plays off. I think the team structure will be better with Okoro as well, because you'll see some more offense as well, and like he can sort of cover Trey's deficiencies. I think the Hawks are sort of building their team like the Warriors built their team around Steph Curry, because Steph Curry was a liability when he was a rookie. He still sort of is a liability defensively, but that's why you've got players like Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, all sort of surrounding him. And I think the Hawks are going to be like that with DeAndre Hunter, Okoro, John Collins, and all that sort of stuff. John Collins isn't really the greatest defender, but defensively really good. In the playoffs last season, he was asked to match up defensively on Giannis and Embiid, and actually played very well. His comparison has always been Bam Adebayo, from what I've heard. If he's sort of like Bam Adebayo as well, he might offensively take a little bit longer to develop. And as we've seen with Bam, he really took three years to average like 15 plus points per game, and now he's almost bordering 20 points per game. So if the comparison is Bam Adebayo, I'll take that. But I think the main thing for Okoro right now is his defensive ability. So for me personally, it's his second season, still has time to have a little bit more of an increased role, but I'll have him personally in the short-term category. Pick number 7, Killian Hayes. So Killian Hayes right now averaging 6.3 points, 3 rebounds and 5 assists. I'll personally put him in the sell category. And look, the thing for me is his stats, his career stats aren't too bad, but I think he's unfortunately the biggest sign of a bust in the top 10 from this draft. He's very inefficient. There's still time to recover. It's quite hard in your first 2 seasons to get adjusted, but 36% from the field is pretty bad, and he's also averaging 27% from the three-point line. So his three-point shot is pretty bad as well. So it's a little bit of a hard one. I think with the Pistons drafting Cade Cunningham, and he's taking over the majority of the ball handling, it's going to slowly push out Killian Hayes, and I think it's quite surprising. It's quite weird hearing that, because the Pistons draft class last year was actually not too bad. They had Killian Hayes first, they had Isaiah Stewart, they had Sadiq Bey, and then they also had Saban Lee, and those are 4 pretty solid. The 3 after Killian Hayes are pretty good value draft picks. But Killian seems to be the one that sort of stood out in terms of not being too great. But defensively, he's actually really good, averaging just over a steal a game. I think he could still be a really solid role player, a solid player in the NBA. I think more so your role for him might be more of a defensive point guard. But there's no real card market for that. So I think, again, you've got to have people in the top 10 that miss out. And I think more the comparison for Killian Hayes would probably be like a Chris Dunn or a Frank Ntilikina. I'm not saying they play the exact same, but defensive point guards don't really have the greatest hobby value. So, with Killian Hayes, unfortunately, I don't want to have him as a sell, but it's never personal or anything, but someone has to miss out, unfortunately. So, let's go on to pick number 8, Obi Toppin. Again, another one. Unfortunately, I'll have him in the sell category. We're quite even right now in terms of the tiers. Career averages 5.5 points, 2.8 rebounds, averages 51% from the field, but 26% from the three-point line. I think another one with Obi, like Killian, not really like Killian, but sort of like, who was I trying to say? Patrick Williams is someone who probably benefit from a trade or a bit more of an offensive role, because the best player at the Knicks plays in Obi Toppin's position in Julius Randle, and that's a little bit annoying for him. But his numbers don't look amazing, and he's relatively old. He's 24 years old, which is, for his draft class, is old. But yeah, I think with Obi, I just don't see what his hobby value is, and his prices are still relatively high for what he's done. Whether that's a slam dunk contest and him winning it, that's sort of pushing it up. I just personally wouldn't be buying Obi Toppin. I'd probably be selling him right now at what his price is. So for me, Obi Toppin's a sell. Pick number 9, Denny Advia. I'm going to personally go sell. Might be a little bit controversial. Bordering hold and bordering sell, but I'm going to go towards that sell side. But I also wouldn't fault it if you held. Really good defender. Has actually been tasked with some big jobs this season defensively, and I've actually been quite impressed. But like I said, where's the hobby value for that isn't really going to be there. Was touted in the draft as the Israeli Luka. I think when we compare people to being the next Luka or the next Giannis, I think Giannis has been sort of like the best one for that. We've been the next Giannis. We've seen Bruno Caboclo. We've seen Sekou Doumbouya. all these sorts of lanky players, and they're just being compared to him. I think you got to just be the next, be the next Denny Advia and be yourself, really. So I think the issue with being touted the next Israeli Luka is, look at Luka. He's such a ball dominant player. And with the Wizards, there's no role for him, really. So for him to be the Israeli Luka, he almost, again, everyone needs to trade in the top 10 apparently, but he needs to either be given a better role on the team. Again, not given the ball as much as Luka. His role isn't going to be as great with players who are, ball dominant like Beal and Kyle Kuzma. You got KCP as well there. Porzingis is there now as well. But yeah, sell more so for me, because like I said, there's not going to be a lot of players in the top 10 that I think aren't going to work out from a card investing standpoint. But yeah, bordering sell, bordering hold. I'm going to go sell for me personally. Last player, pick number 10. I mean, Jaylen Smith would have been a sell for most people when it came to the start of the season, but I'm going to have him in the invest now short-term category. Career averages not too impressive at all. He's averaging 5.6 points, 3.8 rebounds, but we can attribute that to his lack of playing time in his first rookie season at the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are centre heavy. They had DeAndre Ayton, JaVale McGee, Frank Kaminsky. So you've got Jaylen Smith, who was drafted. They were looking at him as a potential as in terms of a power forward for the Suns, but turns out his best role or his best position is actually as a small ball center. And I think the Suns don't need any more centers because they've already got 3 pretty confident centers there at the moment. But I think he'll possibly be at a new team in the offseason thanks to his contract situation. So the Phoenix Suns declined his team option. If you watch my video, declining a team option for a player usually means that the team doesn't rate him, because they're normally quite team friendly in terms of their contracts. And because I think Indiana don't have his bird rights, he might actually be able to go to another team and get a bigger contract. So Indiana can't really offer a massive contract because of that situation. But yeah, so far in his time at Indiana, he's been averaging 13 points and 8 rebounds. He's coming off the bench as well. So, if he's starting, I can see him having a massive role. He's been shown to be a consistent double-double machine when he was given solid playing time at Phoenix when Ayton, Kaminsky and McGee were out. But yeah, he works well as a small ball center because he can step out and hit that occasional 3. I have seen him hitting some solid shots as well. And I think if he is moved to a team where he is given that starting center position, I think we'll see a massive boost in his card prices. So for me personally, I'll have him in the short-term category. But yeah, that is the end of the video. The top 10 picks. We'll go through the next 10 picks as well. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of my, the 10 players and which categories I've ranked them. Let me know as well what player you'd have in each tier as well, and which ones, you'd probably disagree with, because I'm sure there is going to be a little bit of agree, a little bit of disagreement as well. But that's all good as always. Make sure you smash the like button and hit subscribe as always, and I will see you guys all in future videos. Take care.